Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour, UFC 273 Fight Week. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, I'm joined by Ed Carbajal. Ed, oh, and as on a weekly basis, check out our video podcast at allaccessmma.com. Never want to forget that one. Ed, rough week.
Oh boy, that's why we're fucking up at the intro here, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a rough. We didn't do the podcast last week, and a lot of things fell apart. Not just for Bobby Nash that was on the podcast, but for us too. Bobby Nash didn't get to fight at XMMA 4, which was a great card, but he got injured, and then I was supposed to be in Las Vegas last week, which is why we didn't record. And little did I know that Spirit Airlines just likes to make believe they're an airline and not really fly anyone anywhere. I spent 6 hours on an airplane with Nate Ray, who was supposed to be competing at the ADCC trials, and thanks to Spirit Airlines, he spent 2 months training, getting ready for the trials, to miss it since Spirit Airlines didn't feel like going to or from Las Vegas for that whole event. So shout out to Spirit Airlines for being fucking pieces of shit. But we are back, and it's UFC 273 Fight Week.
But you got a $50 fight credit that you'd have to be on Crystal to actually decide to use, right? Nobody ever.
Yeah, $100, but
$100 fight
it could
credit.
have been $500. Yeah, I would. I mean, it's like giving. It's like it's just giving money to someone that they're for empty promises. Because apparently, like I said to you before we started recording, now I know why I've never seen a yellow plane in the air. Because apparently Spirit Airlines doesn't go anywhere. And I know there was stuff in the news about all the airlines, but that was my first and last time with them. And everyone I mentioned it to, they were like, "You should have known better." So
Man, yeah, it makes for a long day, long day.
yeah, so I couldn't even watch the ADCC trials because, it's just heartbreaking to watch somebody put their body through what Nate put themselves through. So shout out to Nate Ray. I know he does listen to the podcast from time to time, as do my other training partners. They already know what happened. We all felt his wrath on Saturday of all the aggression built up because he couldn't compete. So he took it out on everybody he rolled with, and tapped pretty much the entire school. And then and then one positive, because I try not to be negative. Westgate, a hotel in Las Vegas that hosted the event, they couldn't have been more cool about making sure I didn't suffer anything financially or Nate. They were literally, I was on the phone with them and told them what happened, and they were like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. We'll make sure that we don't hurt you. You can fight. You can use your energy to fight with Spirit Airlines. And when I do go to Vegas, Matt, that's where I'll be staying. They can definitely have my money because they couldn't have been cooler about the whole thing.
Oh, that makes it easier after the chaos because it could have spiraled had had that not been the case.
It's funny when you say when you say Spirit Airlines, there's like this weird empathy that people are like, oh, the front desk where I was like, well, so did you say Spirit? Hold on 1 second, I got you. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, they should just call Kill Your Spirits Airline, because they fucking took the fucking wind out of our sails, that's for sure.
Oh man! But hey, you got to talk to a up and coming fighter
yes,
recently, right?
yes. Logan Camp interview is going to be there. Well, the audio of that will be at the end of for audio listeners. You can listen to the Logan Camp interview. Him and Jay Fountain, the other audio that was on from the previous episode, they're both competing in the same event, not against each other. I'm working on a piece for My MMA News about gym smokers for Muay Thai fights, and just talking to these young fighters. I mean, when you hear, you don't often get to speak to someone when the spark hits them, and we've done that on this podcast with Mason. But you know what I'm saying? Like when you talk to these young guys coming up and see the energy and positivity and the hunger in their eyes when they have their eye on the prize at such a young age, it's really refreshing to talk to them. So if you listen to the Jay Fountain one, you're gonna like this Logan Camp one too, because Logan's I think he's got one more fight than Fountain did, and it's Muay Thai, it's not MMA, but Camp told me he's looking to get into MMA and definitely pulling for these kids to make something out of themselves and whatever they want to do. But so listen to that after we're done with our when we finish our up with our UFC 273 picks. But man, with so much happened, Matt, that we didn't get to talk about. I mean, I feel like we should mention one championship because I mean that was reminiscent of Pride Fighting Championship for me. I don't know if you watched it. Even when it was over, I was still watching it on YouTube, and I really like. I want them to come here.
No, I woke up and watched it. The timing worked out good for the main card. I saw like the last four
Yeah.
fights. I think my time was about 6 ish in the morning, so I was able to get up and just catch the last part of the main card. I mean, it was a fun show.
Hmm.
I like what they do. I like trying to pull up all the results here, but yeah, I mean, the Demetrius Johnson Rod Tank thing was fun. I don't know. I kind of went how I guess I expected it. I kind of thought DJ would figure out a way to survive the first round, even if he got dropped.
Yeah.
But he would muscle his way to the second round, and once that happened, I think it was pretty determined at that point that it would have been really hard for Rod Tang to survive. Uh, but yeah, Angela Lee, great fight with Stan Fairtex.
Yeah.
Akiyama Aoki for us old school.
Bringing sexy back to
Like,
MMA.
yeah, you mentioned Pride in the Japanese scene, and I mean
Yeah.
that's the roots right there of
I mean,
some of those guys'
it
history.
was a 3-part event. I mean, I have I have the email results up in front of me. Um, so I don't even want to count off how many. I mean, it was MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, submission grappling. Danielle Kelly made her debut against Mei Yamaguchi, which that was like one of you can watch that early if you go to one's YouTube channel. Um, even though Kelly was always attacking, which is I guess is why she got the bonus, even though it ended in the draw. But if you're like me, and I discussed this with my training partners, if you look at that, watch that match, that because of make sure did I say Yamaguchi or I forget
It's
Yamaguchi, right?
Yamaguchi, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yamaguchi.
Yamaguchi. Uh-huh.
You watch her. I mean, when you look at the lineage of her training, her defense against the leg lock, she does some stuff that we were talking about. I mean, I had to mention it to one of the leg lockers I trained with, and he watched it, and he was even impressed with what she did with stopping. There was a point where she got carded for it, but it was a solid defense. Even one of the guys on commentary was like, "Why are you giving her a stalling card? She's defending against all the leg locks that she's trying to do." But it was I was just super impressed with the whole event, and then just the other grappling match, my boy RDR Rene de Ritter against Andre Galval. That was um same thing. Galval was always attacking. De Ritter spent most of the time defending, but talk about a sack on the guy. Still talking shit afterwards when he was defending the whole time, and then says come fight me in MMA because obviously Galval was the better submission guy. He just couldn't get anything off because of that. Doritter's got that body type. I always talk about the ectomorph.
Uh-huh.
Like even Henzel Gracie was on commentary and he was saying like, he's like that body type. Thank God when Henzel says it, it becomes like doctrinal cross jujitsu, and he was just like, yeah, that body type's super hard to deal with, and believe me, it definitely is. I
You know,
can't. John Wayne
yeah.
Parr's final, yeah.
I mean,
There's
the
so
whole
much,
the whole
yeah.
thing, like you said, it was different. It would, they have a good roster of fighters. They have
Hmm.
they have a good stable. I mean, obviously some of the older guys, John Wayne Parr, that was basically his retirement fight,
Hmm.
um, and Akiyama and Aoki are uh, one's beyond his prime, and the other one is really kind of just coming to the end.
Yeah,
Put in a ton of wars and. Um, just but fun. I'd like to see it come to the United States if they can get it in Colorado, where they, in
yeah.
theory, pass those rules. That
Yeah.
could be make it interesting. But
Me and Matt will fly out to Colorado on airlines at work.
yeah, I mean, the more MMA, the better. The more international MMA, the better. Uh, I believe in being an American and being surrounded basically by Bellator and the UFC.
Hmm.
Um, Speaking of more news, we can talk about the PFL. That seems to be a bit of a circus show as well now, as some allegations over some
Ouch.
gambling. I don't know what's the word, like not irregularities, but basically allowing betting on fights that have been taped.
Pre-taped,
Uh,
yeah.
I'd be
Challenger
interested.
series is Challenger series ain't really working out for them.
No, no, and I wonder if I obviously there probably was a couple bets that might have set something off or made it pop up in someone's mind. I'd be curious
Hmm.
to see the money path on that if people are actually betting on it. I don't know how many people bet on the PFL Challenger Series, but
Hmm.
you know, it's not good. Not good for them. Not good for the sport. The tape delay thing, we see it across several organizations. Bellator
But they're
finally got
honest about it and they don't take bets on it.
they're kind of honest about it. I mean,
They don't market it as tape delay, obviously, but
yeah, that's what I mean. It's
yeah.
fun, but you're not allowed to gamble on it, so obviously it's not
Hmm.
completely hidden from reality. Your point is definitely valid that those other organizations aren't allowing that to happen. But uh, I guess I want to be really bummed. I kind of just bummed I never found out that no one ever tells me about betting on the tape delayed fights. But just
That's
crazy.
the I mean that's the bet you make with your buddy in the same room that doesn't know it's a tape delay.
Yeah, that we used to do like 15 years ago. When,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
when UFC would come on like Fox Sports and they would think it was live, but it was
yeah,
Tim Sylvia Couture,
yeah,
you know, from years prior.
yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, that's going on. Before we get into the UFC picks, there is a nice BKFC event this weekend. We don't really talk a whole lot about BKFC unless I may be making the trip, but it is in Wichita show. Mike Richmond, Dave Rickles main event should
Oh,
be an
that's
absolute
worth
barn burner.
yeah,
I think
that's worth
Richmond's
mentioning.
probably. I think he's talent wise, from what I've seen his first couple fights. He's bulked up since his days in Bellator, and he just seems built for BKFC, and I think he's probably a future champion in that division. Rickles is always the tough out, 2-0. Was actually at his only two BKFC fights. Picked up a win over Julian Lane, uh, and can't remember the previous opponent, but I think it's going to be a banger. I don't know if he can be a knockout just because of Rickles' durability, but I expect Richmond to pick up the win. Um, it, not the deepest card they've ever had. It's a lot of the local guys, but that main event alone definitely would be worth the what is it, $3.99 a month
Hmm.
package for BKFC. So keep an eye out for that. But the reality is the main event this weekend is the UFC 273 card returning to Jacksonville. Since it's Jacksonville opened the door for live crowd pay-per-views last
Fight
April.
capital of the world. Yeah.
But after some changes, not last minute, but changes to the card, the main event is Volkanovski, uh, Korean Zombie, Chen Sung Jung, and the co-main event is the finally the hopefully the finish of the Aljamain Sterling Peter Yan uh, controversy, and we trying to crown a true champion at bantamweight.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a deep card. Some fights got canceled, which obviously sucks, and but the card was deep enough where they were able to move some people around.
Yeah.
Um, Little surprised that when the opening came up, they didn't put the heavyweight Rosenstruck Tybura fight on the main card. But you know,
That's
it's always one of those hit or miss fights where with
yeah.
the heavyweights. Obviously, uh, the pay per view is stacked. You go down to the prelims, like I mentioned. Rosenstruck and Tabura. Oleanek is fighting
I'm
Vendera.
surprised this fight is at the as opening the entire event. Julio Arce versus Daniel Santos.
I mean, it's an exciting fight, but
Yeah.
when you start moving up the card, you got Kay
Yeah.
Hansen's obviously exciting prospect. Oleanek, you know, uh, probably should even be higher up on the card, honestly, just
Mm-hmm.
out of respect for what he's done for the sport. I kind of hate seeing him bury veterans, but Mickey Gall, Aspen Ladd, Cal Pennington. I mean, you're talking pretty much every fight has a name fighter in it, which is
Yeah,
not something that's necessarily typical
yeah. And
in these days.
in your opinion, I mean, you know, I've been through a tailspin, so I've kind of been off of social media because of this whole debacle that I went through, and I'm trying to get back into the groove this week. We're obviously with doing this podcast and looking at the card with you now, but the vibe I'm getting, I mean, outside of, I mean, yes, it's UFC 273 fight week. It just doesn't feel like it's as hyped as other pay per views have been. I don't know if because 274 is so much of an immense card that's taken away from this, or if the fact that this fight right here, which I know we're going to talk about more in a minute, but the Burns versus Chimaev thing on the main card is such a, there's so much on to win or lose on both sides of that particular matchup. Is that's drawing attention away? What do you think of me? Like, I just feel like it's not, doesn't feel like it's a pay per view week like norm, usual.
Well, I mean, I think there is a part of it that the event is in Jacksonville.
Hmm.
It's not the return from COVID, so we can. Jacksonville is a cool little town, but it's not a destination point. It's just not. I mean, having been there last year, I can confirm that it's not somewhere where I would continue to travel to go to UFC events. So that it's not Vegas, it's not New York, it's not even Miami, it's not it's not even Texas. So
Hmm.
it's kind of in a weird location. That, like you mentioned, I think the Chimaev is seems to be the star, uh, despite having potential all-time greats in the rankings when you start talking about Jan
Hmm.
and Volkanovski. Um, I think there's a lot going on in the world, dude. I think between the war and the economy and gas and everything else, I think
Yeah.
distractions easily sit in. And I mean, we'll talk Bellator next week, but you've got two great fights coming up there, and you don't see anything about. I mean, it's just been quiet. I just think, and maybe it's just my world that I see, but you talk about your Twitter feed and stuff, and I just see a lot more. There's a lot more going on between
Mm.
just that's so I think that takes away a little bit of it. Um, but I think the hardcore fans that pay attention to the card, I mean, it's been a talked about card for a while. I might be in the minority that I don't like. I'm not happy Holloway got hurt by any means, but I'm kind of happy to see Korean Zombie get a chance just because it's a
Hmm.
fresher fight as opposed to a trilogy fight, um, a 2-0 trilogy fight, which I lose a little bit of interest in. Uh, I mean, I can't lie. I'm interested in the Chimaev fight. Uh, I think potentially he has a chance to be something like Nurmagomedov. I mean, a
Hmm.
Khabib thing where we
Yeah.
we see somebody who just is that much better than everybody. Another thing is that no matter how much we like the names on this fight, it's a lot of big favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot. I mean, you rarely. I mean, the top three fights, the closest fight they is a minus 475. That's, I mean, according to Vegas, this is three squash matches.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's MMA, anything could happen, but you'd have a hard time. I mean, other than the fact that you can win 6-1 odds or 7-1
Hmm.
odds, it's a not a there's not a lot of it's not maybe not catching the better's eyes. I don't know. Maybe that might have something to do with it. There's just there's a lot of things that could add to it, but I think that there's potential. I think Sterling Jan's going to be better than their first fight.
Yeah.
Uh,
Of course. There's always a little.
and
There's
take away the ending. I think it'll be more competitive. I felt like Sterling was kind of strong early in the fight, but it just to me, Jan looked like he was the more
yeah.
complete MMA fighter in that bout. I think it'll look a little more even this time around.
Yeah.
And the Korean Zombie's kind of a wild card.
Yeah.
I think when you have a championship fight and you're giving Volkanovski a minus 720, I think that's absolutely insane. And the fact that it's rising means people are dumping money on him when he was minus five, minus 600.
Hmm.
That's a
Yeah.
that's that's a lot of that's a lot to give on when an MMA fight
Yeah.
when anything can happen, injuries can happen, a cut can happen. I mean, there could be a lot of weird things. I don't short of like a weird sub, I would see something there. But I mean, if we want to start with the picks, we can start at the base of the card. Vince Pitchell, Mark
Mhm.
Madsen undefeated. Pinchel 14-2. The interesting thing about Pinchel is he's been around the UFC since 2012. He's been around. I got a photo with him uh, at a at one of the expos, I think in 2013, when he was just kind of moving up. But it's pretty crazy. I mean, I'd be the first to admit that I never really dawned on me that his record was 14-2, and when you look at the people he lost to, it really. I mean, you lose to Gillespie and Rustam
Yeah.
Khabilov. That's not bad losses. So
Yeah.
find that interesting. I do think that the wrestling of Madsen, obviously he's 11-0, makes it interesting. And it's hard to go against an undefeated fighter, but when you're only two losses or to tough
Yeah.
competition, that's where it kind of makes it a bit of a coin flip. Um, I do. When that happens, I guess my old school mind says go with the wrestler. Go with the wrestler to figure out a way to grind something out. So I'm gonna go with Madsen. I think it's gonna be a good fight. I think Pitcher will show a lot of durability.
Hmm.
But I kind of tend to go with the wrestler. I just think that when things get even, go with the guy who can take the other guy down.
Yeah. I'm gonna go the other way. Just for you, just kind of, I'm not gonna reiterate what you just said about especially the losses and his experience. Maybe it's me and my old headedness and my old, siding with the old folk because I'm an old folk. But I feel like I think Michelle might have a way around I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, anybody with strong wrestling can certainly what was there's a I forget, the Chael Sonnen said something funny once when he was in that heavyweight tournament in Bellator. So talking about using wrestling to like leg hump his way all the way to a title or something like that. So there's always that chance for wrestlers to do that, even if it might not be the most fun thing to watch. So I see where you're coming from, but I still think the experience of Pichel might be able to keep the W's coming for the older
And he's
guys.
got big wins. I mean, he's got a recent
Yeah,
win over Jim Miller. He's
yeah.
beaten some guys that, uh, but I think it's gonna be a good fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Originally prelim was moved up, so obviously caught the eye of some of the people. And the odds, I mean, they got Pinchel at a a small favorite, minus one
Plus
thirty
110.
over plus 110. So
Yeah.
uh, an even fight, coin flip, going to the main card.
And yeah, and just
Excited.
for the audio listeners, these odds are coming off of the DraftKings odds that are on the UFC.com event page. So I'm sure there's better odds out there. And I was looking at FanDuel odds, and I think their odds are a little better than what DraftKings is offering. So if I'm throwing money on these, I'm doing it through FanDuel, not DraftKings. But anyway,
Second fight of the main card, BJJ standout Mackenzie Dern versus the Tiny Tornado, longtime MMA fighter Tisha Torres. Good fight. Uh, I don't know if you have a real breakdown for this. I know I don't know. I lean Dern. I feel like she's got to be getting. I feel like there's going to be more of an improvement with her.
mm-hmm.
I Torres has just been through a lot of wars, a lot of battles, been
Yeah.
around a while. I don't know if she's maybe on the down step,
Mm-hmm.
where I believe even though Dern's had a couple, uh, you know, accidents along the way, or whatever you want to say, I think she's eventually going to keep learning from that. I think she's going to be the naturally bigger fighter. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's probably fair to say.
What does the
Um,
dimension say on here? Oh yeah.
I mean, they're gonna, yeah. I mean, whether
Yeah,
a little
she's
bit
got the
reach,
reach
a little bit
advantage. Yeah.
height. She's taller. She's really 125. I mean, she spent a lot of her career at 125. Uh, had some weight cutting issues prior to the last few fights. And I don't know if Torres is. Um, I feel like you got to be more of like kind of a, a constant attack to to get at Dern. I think you
Mm-hmm.
can't let her like settle in at all. And uh, maybe I'll be wrong, but I'm not real sure if Torres has the one punch really hurt you power. I always feel like she was kind of more of a grinded out, a really smart fighter who figured out ways to win. And
Hmm.
I think Dern, uh, it's just hard to go against her jiu-jitsu, knowing how good
Mm.
she is on the ground, uh,
Yeah.
and how she's improving on the feet. But
Yeah.
I kind of feel like you might be going the other way.
You know what? No. Oddly enough, I was almost thinking of going with the tiny tornado, Miss Tessia Torres, but because she seems, because she's more, she's, I feel like her wrestling could help her, but Dern is such a good submission. Um, I could see her avoiding the ground, and if she avoids any sort of grappling because of Dern's submission prowess, then I think even Dern. We know she's working on her striking. She's not an expert striker by any means or whatever, but it's been improving every single fight. And given the advantage she has with striking, she could just outpoint Torres towards a victory if they wind up staying avoiding the grappling. So it looks like we're both going with Ms. Mackenzie Dern. Let's move on to the
Featured fight, third fight of the main card, the
yeah.
fight that most people seem to be talking about: Gilbert Burns, Kazmat Chimaev. I'll let you go with this. I mean, I you've been a Burns supporter for years. Interested to kind of see how you see this going, or possibilities of it going.
I mean, it's crazy because it's very odd because you know Hamza Chimaev has been such a there is a train that is being hyped, but it's because he's been going through a lot of people. I mean, in two weight classes. Brian Stan, there's video that was floating around when I was stuck at the airport. I saw of Brian Stan had Chimaev on his radar back when he was still with the UFC in a broadcast, and talking about him. Um, I think the first round is going to be very telling, because there's footage out there. Shout out to Jack Slack doing his homework and sharing some of it. There is footage out there of Chimaev getting submitted. He's not undefeated. Right? I mean, I don't think this is correct. I feel like he's got some amateur losses. Let me look him up on Tapology. But there's
Tapology has him as undefeated.
okay, so I guess he's undefeated as a pro, but um, there is a footage of that Jack Slack put out there with him getting armbarred off of his crushing side mount attack. Um, and Burns is no slouch. He's trains with Wagner Hocha. I think the first round is going to be very telling. That being said, I mean, we just talked about ectomorphs in MMA, which Chimaev is. I I'd feel confident putting money on Burns because he's an underdog. But if I'm going to make a pick, I could see Chimaev picking up another W here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out what the story is. If Chimaev runs through Gilbert Burns
Mm-hmm.
like he's ran through his previous UFC opponents, if it's even close to those
Yeah.
performances, um, I I think you're gonna start seeing a lot of people. Uh, I mean,
If you're
if
on
he
the
runs
fence about him, yeah, you're going to change your mind for
well,
sure.
if he runs through him, I mean, what's his next fight? A title fight? I mean, if he goes, let's say he goes out there and finishes Burns in under 2 minutes, like he's basically, you know, like he's fighting an amateur fighter, it would be hard to not give him the next title fight. I mean, I know Leon Edwards has done a ton to earn it, but we know how the UFC works. There's no,
Yeah.
it's who's hot at the time, and
Yeah.
uh, I mean, you start
I
talking
don't see
about a
Leon
fight.
Edwards selling tickets unless they do it in the UK.
No, that's what I mean, and
Yeah.
that's not to be disrespectful to Edwards, but you headline Chimaev, Usman, that gets everybody pretty damn excited. I think that or you know Chimaev could also go up to 185 Adesanya. I mean, there's a lot of things that he could potentially
Yeah.
bring if what we've seen hasn't been, I don't want to say, kind of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Let's when he fights the top five guy, let's see what he does. I gotta go with him. There's nothing I've seen about him that
Hmm.
makes me believe that he can't win this fight. Um, I I am interested because Burns packs a big punch,
Yeah.
and we've seen wrestlers in the past when they've stepped up in competition gas or have issues because they're not
So,
able to finish their opponent on the ground, and eventually that opponent is able to stuff some takedowns
mhm.
or a takedown and just land that big punch or knee
Yeah.
or shot. It could be body, it could be a lot of things that just swings the fight. We haven't really seen Chimaev get hit, so that's always a bit of a
Yeah.
question.
And
Does
I
he have?
mean, I saw yesterday, or it must have been yesterday or day before. Usman's been helping Burns get ready for this guy. Which I mean, if the guy that you used to train with that beat you, and that's coming in with some new stuff from training with Trevor Whitman and all them, and sharing that with you for this fight, I wouldn't be surprised if it's definitely going to be like enough. It's weird to say it. No disrespect to Sterling and Jan and Zombie and Volkanovski, but like this is like the main event for me. This fight.
I think that's kind of the reality across
Yeah.
the whole MMA sphere at this point. But let's jump to the co-main event. Aljamain Sterling, Peter Yan, the rematch from the controversial, not really, but a odd ending. Only time in UFC history a belt changed hands on a disqualification.
Hmm.
Um, so a fluke, I would say, something that hopefully we don't have to see anytime in the near future. Let's see. I hate to use the. Looks like they're accurate with their records. Jan 16-2, with the last one being that disqualification loss, and Sterling moves to 20-3 with that win. Um, uh, you know, uh, I know Sterling's your guy from your neck of the
East Coast,
woods.
yeah,
I don't think you've ever picked against him. I think you probably picked him the first time they fought.
I did.
Uh, I do, like as I mentioned earlier, I do think the fight will be a lot closer. Uh, at least skill. I don't think it'll be as evident who's winning the fight as it maybe comes down the line, but
Hmm.
um, I do believe Peter Yan is a step above. Um, Technically, I think he just brings to the table a lot of weapons, and I do think that the first fight, obviously, the momentum was shifting his way. The third and fourth round,
Hmm.
prior to the knee, and I think this time, I'm not going to disrespect Sterling and think he gets finished. I think he proved his durability in that first fight. Take away this pretty massive knee on the ground. As much as I want to sit here and be like, "Hey, I wish that fight would have went on." When the more I watched it, it was a pretty brutal knee.
Hmm.
Um, I got to go with Peter Yan. I think it will be a decision. I hope it puts to rest the controversy, uh, and and the division can continue to move on. Uh, and we might see another fight down the line, but I just feel like Jan's that one click above the division right now.
Yeah, there's something to be said though about where's my pen? I just want to make. I always note our picks down so in case I want to break your balls when we're. um, there's something to be said though about guys that get together, compete together, spar together, whatever it is, or and fight. And like you said, the rematch, they always come back a little tougher. They've crossed hands. They felt each other already. I feel like, and just looking at his training and preparation, I know he had some surgery that kind of postponed this a little, so that's a little concerning. But I don't think it's gonna be the because if I'm remembering the first fight right, like you said, the first round he was pretty strong, and then Jan started warming up to everything and was just doing knocking him off balance, taking his space and just pretty much winning the following rounds. Now that Sterling felt that and expects it, and given what happened the first time, I mean, we've seen him come back from worse, right? When he got knocked out by Moraes, like he came back a better version of himself. So I don't think it's going to be as easy or as one sided as the first fight sort of looked. Um, Plus, there's a lot of beef, with the whole him having the title, and there's a lot for him to prove. So I'm I'm gonna pick Sterling again. I know. I mean, call it my East Coast loyalty or whatever you want to call it, but I have faith. I have faith in the young lad. I mean, granted, he never remembers my name or any of the other conversations we have. Every single time I run into Ray Longo remembers, but he never remembers. But every time I see him out here in the Northeast region, it's always like, and I'm just like, whatever, man, because I like the kid, and I like I've enjoyed watching his career thus far. I actually sided with him when all the haters came at him. He didn't have a choice in the way that turned out. So I I'm call me sentimental in my old age. I'm looking forward to him redeeming himself here.
You know, we'll see we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm like I said,
Yeah,
I'm glad to finally see it getting getting booked, and
yeah.
hopefully, cross our fingers. It's only Wednesday night, uh, but
It's in Florida. They're not going to cancel
that's
anything.
that's true. That's true. That's a good
Only
point too.
flights, but yeah.
Only flights. Main event: Alexander Volkanovski, Chan Sung Jung. Volkanovski 23-1, Jung 17-6. Volkanovski huge favorite. Everything in my world wants Chan Sung Jung to win, but just I can't pick against a 7-1 favorite. I just feel
Hmm.
like that would be. I mean, if I was in Vegas, I'd put $10 on Jung, or $20 on him. Try to make a quick steal by some luck
Yeah.
happening, but not necessarily luck, but just something weird kind of happening. I just don't see it. I'm not sure how short of the usual flash knockdown, quick, catch him in a submission. I don't. I think Volkanovski probably dominates this fight. I do kind of fear two back-to-back long 5-round decisions because of the durability of fighters,
Yeah.
but I gotta go Volkanovski. To me, there's no real way around it. He's just shown dominance, and the people he beat is who's who of his
Yeah.
division. So I
Yeah.
gotta go with him.
Yeah. No, I think we're both on the same page with this one. Um, so I'm just gonna write Volk across the board here because we're both going with Volkanovski. Only reason I say that is because if if you look at these stats on the UFC's website, which we know they're not never 100%. Lately, maybe they've been getting better, but um,
You mean
Volkanovski.
Volkanovski's not a 160-pound fighter?
case in point, yeah,
Not only is he not, there's not even a 160-pound division. So let's
yeah,
just.
yeah. But I just feel like he's that whole rugby Australian athleticism. I think that's just all going to be. We've seen the zombie go against Chang Sung Jung go against guys like that, and it doesn't work. Like I think his losses come from guys like that. These guys that are just tough as nails, that'll drag you through the grinder, take whatever you got and give it back some. Um, I just don't see him having his way. I mean, if his advantage by these numbers mean his advantages in submissions, when do we see Volkanovski go to the ground long enough to get submitted? With Brian Ortega couldn't submit him, and he had the submission locked in, and he still didn't get him. So, yeah,
Like I said, to me, it would have to be a wounded Volkanovski who who
yeah,
who ends up in a really bad position and gets caught in a choke. I mean,
hmm,
or I mean, Jung's pulled off, Twister and stuff. So there is, but I don't see that happening, barring just a totally wounded
yeah,
Volkanovski. Um, uh, you know, Good card. I think like I I hope that it doesn't peak at the Chimea fight. I hope that there is some drama in the last two fights. Uh,
I'm sure we can expect drama. It's the UFC.
it's true, true. So I think that wraps it up for the picks. Reminder to listen to the audio for the Logan Camp interview that Ed picked up recently.
Yes, Logan fights again. Just for folks, I mean, if you're in the central New Jersey, they're selling tickets at the venue. I know it's limited because of capacity and fire code and stuff like that. UFC gym in North Brunswick. It's right off of Route 1 in North Brunswick, New Jersey. Please check them out. I might squeeze that in if I can get there myself. April 30th, so it's the end of this month.
Fans can check out the show at allaccessmma.com. Check out the show on Twitter at Combat Hour, Coast to Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMA Hawk 21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Oldhead Carb on Twitch. Ed, look forward to BKFC appetizer and then UFC on Saturday, main course. Sorry about your travels last week, man. Hopefully you get back to the routine this week and get to enjoy some good fights and
Yes,
never
sir.
have to deal with that BS ever again.
Oh God.
Have a good night. Have a good night, brother, and everybody. Thank you for listening.
Peace.